You may have heard me mention our family Roomba before, Mr. Belvedere, our robot vacuum. He's the best. I'm a little obsessed with him. My kids know that I say he's my favorite child. Joking, of course, but yeah. Every few days, I make a little production of picking up stray socks and dog toys, putting chairs on tables, that kind of stuff, making sure the floor is ready for optimal vacuuming performance. Then, a few hours later, I check the little dustbin and marvel at how much dirt Mr. Belvedere has collected. Good job, Mr. Belvedere. And inevitably, I tell my wife with great pride, I vacuumed the bedrooms today. It's become a little inside joke. I say it with a smirk. She rolls her eyes, and we both know I did not vacuum anything. Mr. Belvedere did. But the goal was never for me to do the vacuuming, was it? The goal was clean floors. So it doesn't really matter who did the work. As long as the house is clean, we're good. Now, this reminds me of a story I heard recently in a presentation by educator and writer Dave Stewart Jr. He shared an anecdote, one he'd heard from someone else, about learning and effort. And he shared this metaphor that I'm going to paraphrase slightly, but it stuck with me, so I'd like to share it with you. He said something like, let's say I want to get really buff. So I go to the gym and I bring a forklift. I load a bunch of weights onto it and then use the forklift to raise and lower the weights over and over again. And I sat there in the audience on the edge of my seat, waiting for him to say the important thing. I was waiting for him to say, the problem is the goal wasn't to lift the weights. The goal was to get stronger. I think Stewart was being intentional there and letting us fill in the blanks ourselves, but that's the key point, isn't it? The goal wasn't to lift the weights. And this is where Mr. Belvedere, my little Roomba buddy that I just told you about, comes back in. If the goal was for me to burn calories or build muscle or experience the joy of vacuuming, I guess, then outsourcing it to Mr. Belvedere would have been a problem because I couldn't have done those things if Mr. Belvedere did the vacuuming. But if the goal is a clean carpet, no problem at all. Pick up the socks, press start, and let Mr. Belvedere do his thing. The goal is a clean carpet, and that achieves it. Which brings us to what Stewart was actually talking about, AI. And this all reminds me of an amazing article that I read recently by Rick Wormeli. I read it twice, actually. The article is titled, With AI, Let's Keep Students Learning Paramount. I'll be honest, while I loved the article, I really did, there was one paragraph that totally stumped me. I read it, I reread it, I read it really slowly, I read it while squinting my eyes, and I just could not figure out what he was trying to say in this paragraph. So I did what any 21st century educator with a digital assistant would do, right? I opened up ChatGPT, I pasted it in, and I said, what's Wormeli trying to say here? And guess what? It helped. It broke it down, explained it to me. I asked it a few clarifying questions. It answered them clearly, and then I got it. I understood that paragraph and how it connected to the rest of the article. My goal was understanding, and I achieved it. Just like Mr. Belvedere gives me clean carpets, the AI in that situation helped me clean up my comprehension of that article. And it's important to note that the alternative to pasting that paragraph into ChatGPT would have been for me to just accept not understanding the paragraph at all. Going, oh, whatever, I'm just not going to understand this. Not paste it in a ChatGPT because some people think that maybe that's cheating or something. Don't paste it in, and then I don't understand it. In that case, it's a no-brainer. I should seek that AI help, right? Now, if I ask ChatGPT to summarize the entire article for me, that would have been different, I think. I would have missed the nuance in the article. I would have missed the wrestle with the ideas. I would have missed the learning. And I would have missed the little jokes that Wormeli tends to put into his work. But more importantly, I would have missed the opportunity to think really deeply about how AI is used in classrooms. Because when I read that article, my goal wasn't to read the article. It was to learn and to think about AI integration, and ultimately to sharpen my ability and my skills to support educators within this new educational landscape that has AI in it. My goal was to get better at supporting them. The goal wasn't the completion of a task, reading an article. The goal was to get better at something, to get better at supporting educators. The goal wasn't task completion. The goal was growth. My goal was mastery, not just checking a box. So this is the part that I can't stop thinking about in all the discussions about AI, as well as in this article from Wormly. And honestly, it's where I feel the most fired up. In my 14 years in the classroom full-time, I did what most teachers do. Much of my grading was based on whether students turned something in or not. And when we do that, we shouldn't be surprised when they figure out the easiest way to turn something in. After all, we've made that the goal. If the goal is to turn something in, they're going to find an easy way to turn something in. They're aspiring to turn something in regardless of whether that means copying from a classmate, recycling an old project, or asking AI to do the work. Some students will look for the path of least resistance to completion of the task. It's cause and effect, folks. But when we center growth, when we center learning, when we say the goal isn't to lift the weights, it's to get stronger. When we say the goal isn't to read the article, it's to get better at supporting educators, that changes everything. Students are likely to approach the work differently when they know it's meant to build them, not just check a box. Now, I wish I could say that I made this shift in my own classroom, and I didn't. But now, I'm in the position to help others, including you, make that shift. To help educators rethink what they measure, how they motivate learners, and why they assign what they assign. Along this line of thinking, one of the most compelling ideas in Wormly's article is his concept of academic cosplay. Now, cosplay, if you're unfamiliar, is short for costume play. It's when fans dress up as characters from anime or comics or games or movies. But Wormly's not talking about showing up to class dressed like Miss Frizzle or Mr. Feeney or Mrs. Krabappel or Professor Dumbledore. He's talking about students, and teachers too, going through the motions of learning without actually doing the thinking. He's talking about dressing up as learners and thinkers with minimal learning and thinking taking place. And this isn't just true when we use AI to do tasks for us. This happens all the times in classrooms. Honestly, guilty as charged. A lot of what I did as a student, and even more embarrassingly, a lot of what I had my students do was academic cosplay. And this was before AI. In 1996, when I was in high school, I earned extra credit in history class by finding articles about historical events online and rewriting them in my own words. Academic cosplay. In 2005, as a math teacher, I'm certain that students were copying homework from each other. Academic cosplay. In 2011, my science students probably swapped review sheets and filled in the answers. Cosplay. In 2013, my STEM students clicked remix on Scratch projects, changed a few features so it looked different, and turned them in as their own. Academic cosplay. In 2021, my CAD students, computer-aided design, they had classmates build SketchUp models for them, and they submitted screenshots as if they'd done the work. Still academic cosplay. The pattern here is clear, and it's one Wormly has been spotlighting for years, especially in his book, Fair Isn't Always Equal. When we make the goal the completion of a task, turning in the homework, submitting the project, checking the box, we shouldn't be surprised when students find the fastest path to that goal. And this isn't just anecdotal. Research on performance-oriented goals, one thing that I'm really fascinated about is performance and mastery-oriented goals. And research on performance-oriented goals tells us the same thing. If the goal is performance, completing a task, getting a grade, so on, some students will pursue it by any means necessary, even if that means cutting corners, copying, or outsourcing the thinking to AI altogether. If the goal is just to wear the costume, some kids will wear the costume. And if that's the goal that we put in front of them, we can't be shocked when students come to school dressed as learners. But if the goal is to learn the math, to understand the science, to design the game, to think like a civil engineer, then it's a little different, isn't it? Is the goal to lift the weights or to get stronger? So mastery-oriented goals, like getting stronger, are when we're getting better at something, seeking mastery of something, right? Those yield different results than performance-oriented goals, like lifting the weights. The goal is not completing the worksheet. The goal is learning. Now, I don't want to be unrealistic here, okay? Kids are kids, teenagers are teenagers, and growing up today in the age of cell phones and Snapchat and TikTok and viral memes, that creates challenges that can't be overcome, let's say, by simply changing the orientation of the goals and the tasks that we put in front of our learners. That alone can't remedy what our world is like for kids nowadays, but it's a step in the right direction. Because when learners allow AI to do the thinking for them, it changes everything. It changes the trajectory of their learning. It shifts how they grow, how they learn, how they see themselves, and how they think about AI. Now, I'm going to take a little unplanned tangent here. So the Wormley article shared a quote that really hit me. Hold on, let me find it. Here it is. So this quote, it made me deeply process the fact that the use of AI to outsource thinking, it doesn't just hurt the students, it hurts the educators too. So Wormley pointed this out by quoting college instructor and writer Eric Ofgang's piece called 5 Things About Using AI for Writing That I Wish Enthusiasts Would Remember. I haven't read the whole article yet. I've read these quotes. Quotes are great. I should probably go read the whole article now. But Ofgang said, I regularly have the unsettling experience of suspecting human-generated writing was actually machine written. Until it happens to you, it can be difficult to fully grasp how unsettling and demoralizing it is to come across AI-generated work in your classes. When you suspect a paper is AI-generated but can't prove it, you have to spend time grading inauthentic work and pretending this feedback matters to the student. AI submissions can also infect a whole batch of papers, making you wonder unfairly about ones that were actually generated by humans. It's a new kind of stress that just wasn't a part of the job a year ago. Woo! That's tough. That's not just about academic integrity or academic honesty or pedagogy or learning. That's about emotional exhaustion. This is what it feels like to be a teacher doing the work, reading student writing, offering thoughtful feedback on that writing, and realizing this might not even be real. And if it's not real, does any of that feedback even matter? Wow. That's not just frustrating. That's demoralizing. It's draining. And it undermines one of the most meaningful parts of teaching, the relationship that happens through feedback within the learning journey that good teachers are riding on alongside their students. So Wormley also pointed out how Ofgang discussed the importance of writing as a tool for thinking and a tool for communication, which is something that Adam Sparks and I discussed in a previous episode. Writing isn't just a way to show learning. It is learning. It's how we make sense of the world and how we connect to one another. And that matters especially in middle school. Now that came up because this article was in AMLE, the Association of Middle Level Educators, I think it is. So he's talking about what happens when AI impacts middle school learning. And he dives into some brain science. Let me point out here, some of the brain science in the article made my eyes glaze over. I'm sorry, Mr. Wormley, or if you're hearing this, excuse me, sorry. That's actually where I needed to paste a paragraph in the ChatGPT because I was like, what? What is he saying here? What's his brain science telling me? But there was one line in particular that I want to zero in on that he shared. He said, in fact, middle school students are unusually open to learning challenges and creativity, functionally craving robust, active engagement with the world, and yes, with topics we teach in middle school. That's it. That's like an invitation. They crave challenge. Cognitively, creatively, their brains crave it. even when they don't show it because they're kids, even when they roll their eyes, even middle schoolers' brains crave challenging thinking. Now, some of you are raising your hand and saying, not the middle schoolers I teach. And I get it. The apathy struggle is real. Most of my classroom years were with 8th graders. I know apathy runs rampant in those classrooms. And in some cases, no matter how much we do, it is nearly impossible to motivate a subset of our students. Hopefully, it's just a small handful. But if we don't try, it's inevitable that they'll outsource their thinking to AI along with other things, right? And the shift that needs to happen is focusing on growth and learning, focusing on mastery. And as I mentioned earlier, mastery-oriented goals, giving our learners some autonomy and some choice, and helping them see that we're trying to help them get stronger, not just lift the weights up and down. But before I wrap up, some real talk. If you read the article, which I recommend you do because Wormley does a fantastic job in it, you'll likely agree with me on this point. Some of Wormley's suggestions feel a little utopian, like when he says that teachers should grade everything themselves rather than using AI, or when he says that teachers should not rely on AI to draft feedback or plan lessons or support differentiation. Sure, in a perfect world. Listen, I agree with him in the terms of impact and best practices. Yes, quality teacher-generated feedback and design are better than having it done by AI. But in practice, teachers are overwhelmed and have finite amounts of time to do their work. And if the alternative is not doing some of those things at all, or doing less of them because there's no time or capacity, then yeah, AI might be the better move. So while I agree, a little utopian there. Because in the end, it all comes back to the goal. What's the actual goal? For our learners, if it's just about submitting something, any something, AI, it's like a perfect forklift, right? But if the goal is to think deeply or build skills or get smarter or grow stronger or get better at something, that's work the student needs to do. And that's the spot that Wormley and I most certainly agree on there. And the same is true for what the teachers are doing. What's the actual goal? Sometimes it's essential for us to do the work. And other times, I think it's okay for AI to help. But we have to think about that first. What's the actual goal? Back to that idea of academic cosplay earlier. Is AI letting us dress up as an educator? Or is it helping us be an even better educator? Is AI letting our students dress up as learners? Or is it helping them learn more deeply? I think sometimes it does one and sometimes it does the other. And we have to think about it each and every time we lean on it. Just like having Mr. Belvedere do my vacuuming, sometimes it helps accomplish more and do better. But just like having a forklift lift the weights, sometimes it robs us of the actual growth that was the goal. What's the actual goal?